This is the MO Sessions podcast, where we talk about magic ways to become a better magician to be good to your magic. I'm your host, Benny Slade, and I couldn't be any more thrilled that you are here. Welcome back to another episode of the MO Sessions. I'm your host, Benny Slade, and today I want to talk about practicing an effect. This is a topic that is interesting for me because it's kind of a self-discovery on the way I perform magic and practice it. I want to talk about two different categories, and it'll kind of start it off. We'll branch it into two different categories. There's performing effects and there's private effects. Performing effects is kind of effects that you practice and you're putting into your repertoire of things for your show or however you choose to perform your magic. And those are ones that are going to be shown to the public or maybe even a select group of either laymen or magicians. And then there's private effects. Private effects are really kind of close to my heart because there's so many effects that I've created or come across or whatever it may be, and they're not shared with people. It's not a gatekeeping thing. It's not like I don't want to. It's just things that I'm just choosing not to show magicians or show in my performances or what have you. And that's kind of, it's a two-step process for me. It's really like a yes or no. When they all start off as private effects for me. And how do I get to the point of where I want to decide if it's going to be a performing effect? When I'm practicing an effect, I go through the entire gamut of learning the effect. I watch videos. I would highly recommend starting with reading about it in the original source and working your way up to finding maybe a video source on it. And that's really it. And then the third one is practicing it in the mirror. For me, I always go back onto what Frank Sinatra has always said about when he would put on a performance for people. If you're going to perform for people and they're paying money to come see you, it better be the best. That's why he always wore a tuxedo on stage. You would never see him perform on stage unless it was like a very commercial or casual situation where he would not be in a tuxedo. So when he would perform, he would go on stage and he would always, always, always be in a tuxedo. He just truly believed that his audience deserved him to be at his best at all times. And he did that all the way up into his 90s. He definitely was still performing in a tuxedo. He thought that was the appropriate fit for his audience. So when you're creating an effect in private, I think it's important to understand, where does this fit? When would you put this at play? Is it an opener? Is it a closer? Is it a transition piece? Is it, you can break that up however you want to in different categories. Practice it in the mirror. Record yourself doing the effect over and over again, always from the top. Even when you're recording on video, like what I like to do is do the entire routine with no patter, just moves. And then I start to think about what I want to say and how I want to present it. The entire time as I'm doing it, I'm thinking about how I want to present it as me. Not how Di Vernon presented it, not how Marlowe presented it, not how Bertram or any of these guys or any other magician, not how they do it. It's great to see that as an example, but taking the effect and making it your own for you is perfect. And the more it becomes second nature and the more it is you, the more likely it's to become a performing effect. People want to see your authenticity. They want to see you perform magic. This topic could be controversial. I'm not quite sure. I've never really talked about this with other magicians aside from maybe like 2 or 3. But magic should be natural. It should naturally just come out of you. Isolating yourself in an effect is really interesting, where you can just sit down by yourself and almost like an investigation is the way I can kind of explain it, from my brain to recording it. If you're looking at an effect, you really want to, like I said, find the original source, find 2 or 3 variations, but always find the version that best suits you. And I'll have another episode about finding the best version of an effect and what that looks like, because that's kind of a different topic. But I do think it's important to practice it on video. If you want me to kind of break down this category and expand on it more, I'm happy to do so. You can shoot me an email at mosessionspod@gmail.com. I actually think I changed it. I think that's the old one. So it would be mosession, no S, pod @gmail. And you can correspond with me there. But sit down with yourself. If you have a mat or a card table or whatever you are performing, or if you stand up. I do a lot of tabled magic, so I'm always seated. Practice it. Look at your different camera angles. Purchase a 3-way mirror or make one for yourself. I know Jason Ladany had a few for sale. I don't know if he still does. You can find them on Tannins or Vanishing Ink. Get a 3-way mirror. Get 2 3-way mirrors and kind of get a full 180 of what's going on. That's really interesting. There used to be a clip. I don't know where it is or what happened to it. Where I think it's Jason Ladany and R. Paul Wilson are going to find a famous mechanic or what do you call it? Mechanic or card handler. And he's going to, they find this guy, and the guy explains that Frank Garcia gave him Frank Garcia's personal mirror, and he opens it up, and it's like 6 mirrors, I think, 6 or 7 mirrors, and it goes from all the way, like if you're seated at a table, all the way from the left side, all the way around to the right side. There's no hiding, and that's what he's explaining, that if in a mirror like that, you're seeing what everybody's seeing. There's no hiding. So you have to really get your sleights and your cheating moves or whatever it is down. It's great advice, but it's also where you're going to find, 6 mirrors. If you can find 6 mirrors and you screw them all together, that's cool. They all folded up into like an accordion style situation. Sit there, try to understand like what the point of the effect is and where it'd be good in your repertoire. I have a lot more private effects than I do performing effects. And when I do come across something, I always consult my best friend in magic. And I say, find someone. I have a best friend in magic, and hopefully one day he'll come on this podcast and we can kind of chat it up on some processes that we go through. He might even have his own, but I find like the first version, and then I really sit there and like play with it. And, it's so good to kind of have that round table of people you can kind of consult with too about, your performing effects. For me, like a Triumph for me is not a private effect. I think that's just something. Triumph is what it is. I think it's one of the best tricks, effects possible. And all the variations are amazing too. So sit down with yourself, learn the best version, learn the variations, and see if you want it to be something you put in your repertoire or if it's something private. That's all I have for you today on this episode, and I'll see you on the next one.